In the movie Catch Me If You Can, it tells of a man, Frank Abagnale, one of the most famous con artists in history, who faked over 8 identities, several professions, and cashed over $2.5 million of forged checks in the 1960s until the police finally caught him at age 21. In this Liber-Tea episode, we will dive more deeply into the truth of Mr. Abagnale's real life, and although the movie is only loosely based on his story, this Liber-Tea episode is not. Rather, it is the actual facts of this con man's history. Be sure to check out our sister channel over at Crime Labs, and don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment on this Liber-Tea channel. Frank Abagnale Jr. was born on April 27, 1948, in Bronxville, New York. According to the memoir, Abagnale was the third of 4 children born to parents Paulette Abagnale and Frank Abagnale Sr. The couple met in Algiers during World War II, while Frank Sr. was stationed in Iran, with Paulette still only in her teens when they wed. After the war, the two moved to New York, where Frank started his own business. Abagnale would later state that he had a stable childhood and was especially close to his father, who traveled often and became deeply involved in Republican local politics. The younger Frank had his life turned upside down when his mother decided to leave him. Not only was his siblings devastated, but so was his father, who was still in love with his wife. As his mother worked toward her independence, Frank Jr. decided to live with his father after the divorce, and he often tagged along on business dealings. During this time, Frank Jr. learned about white-collar transactions. As a teenager, Abagnale got caught up in petty crimes, including shoplifting. After growing tired of these practices, he decided to move into more sophisticated forms of theft. Abagnale began using his father's gas credit card to make money. Abagnale convinced gas station attendants to give him a portion of his sale back in cash and allowed them to pocket a portion of the proceeds. When his father got the credit card bill, the scam fell apart. Abagnale didn't know that his father was in financial trouble. Dismayed over his son's delinquency, Abagnale's mother sent him to a school for wayward boys. Abagnale left home at 16 years old, and because of his father's new circumstances and his parents' disagreements. Abagnale had no formal education and had little in his bank account. Abagnale had his driver's license altered to make him 10 years older than he actually was. He still barely made ends meet, even though he got better paying jobs. Abagnale wrote bad checks to support himself after quitting work. Abagnale had written a lot of bad checks and overdrawn his account. He went into hiding because he knew they would eventually catch him. He wanted to cash more bad checks if he could impress bank tellers with a more impressive personality. He wanted to get a pilot's uniform, so he schemed his way into it. Abagnale called Pan American Airlines headquarters and said that he had lost his uniform. Headquarters told him where to go pick up a new one, which he did, and charged it to the company using a fake employee ID. Abagnale then learned all he could about flying, once by pretending he was a high schooler doing a student newspaper article on Pan Am, and he cleverly forged his own pilot's ID and FAA license. His ruse earned him valuable information about how to impersonate a pilot, which he did allegedly in order to hitch rides on planes all across the world. After Pan Am and police caught on to Abagnale's lies, he decided to become an out-of-town doctor in Georgia. When a local doctor came visiting, Abagnale thought his identity was blown, but instead, he was invited to visit the local hospital, where he became a regular visitor and purportedly landed a temporary job. Abagnale quit his job and left town. He was said to have moved from job to job over the next 2 years. When Abagnale settled down in France, his past caught up with him. He decided to live a straight life after cashing over $2 million in bad checks. When a former girlfriend recognized his face on a wanted poster, she turned him in to the authorities. Abagnale served time in France, reputedly in the harsh confines of Perpignan, where he became seriously ill, in Sweden and the United States for his crimes, during which time his father died. After several years in a Virginia prison, Abagnale was granted parole. He eventually found lecturing work as a white-collar crime specialist, providing information to bank employees about ways to avoid fraud and theft. In exchange for his freedom, the government told Abagnale that he had to educate them about his methods in order to prevent others from defrauding authorities. One of the world's foremost experts on document fraud, check swindling, forgery, and embezzlement, worked with the FBI for more than 30 years. Abagnale started his own company to educate others on how to avoid becoming a fraud victim. The Abagnales now live on Daniel Island near Charleston, South Carolina. They have 3 sons, Scott, Chris, and Sean. Abagnale believes that meeting his wife motivated him to change his life. Thank you for listening to Liber-Tea. We hope you have truly enjoyed it and will hit the subscribe button. Like, share, and comment to show your support, and be sure to let us know what other future historical narratives you'd like to hear from us.